Greetings, cross fans. Welcome to Laatste Ronde. I am Marty Mack. What a weekend it was in the world of cyclocross. Let's face it, pretty much everyone in the world of cycling, apart from those that are currently in Australia starting their road season, are probably in Spain right now. Calpe being one of the most favoured destinations for pro teams and their training camps. The cyclocross world decided a few years ago that what better idea at this time of year than to add a World Cup in Benidorm. What a breath of fresh air it has been. And this year's edition, with the course changes, as Benidorm lays its claim to a potential crack at hosting the World Cyclocross Championships, it was a great addition. We now have the finish on a climb, and it was a toughie as well. The previous finish line had become a sand trap, and it was a bit of a shame because you could see the amount of effort that it had taken to transport and put down that amount of sand on what was previously the finishing straight. Unfortunately, the rain that they had in the week, which left a lot of standing water throughout the course, it meant that that sand trap became really compacted and everyone was pretty much just charging through it. It wasn't too much of a challenge. It was a great addition. 15,000 spectators, we are told, made their way to Benidorm to watch the Cyclocross World Cup. And again, for me, what I loved, and it took me back a little bit to the Paris Olympics last year up on the Sacré-Cœur, and I was commentating that one. And as they came over the top of the Sacré-Cœur there for the final time, there was just this beautiful helicopter shot where there was just this sea of flags from all over the world. And I think given what is going on outside of sport in the world, it was just beautiful to just see all of the flags of the world just all coming together, watching sport and watching cycling. And I think a lot of the time when you look at the world, I think what we have in sport is something beautiful. And there's so much more that connects us than divides us. And in Benidorm, we just saw again this sea of flags, everyone all over the world. And what happens when you take something like cyclocross out of that hotbed of Belgium and the Netherlands and you put it somewhere like Spain, is the crowd are just cheering for everyone, and it just creates such a beautiful atmosphere. And we had a great day of racing. In the elite women's race, we had a really fast race. Front group: Amandine Fouquenet, Celia Giry, Ceylin Alvarado, Lucinda Brand, Kristina Zemanova. And it was just kind of switching backwards and forwards. We saw Kristina Zemanova having a go at the front. Lucinda Brand was kind of sat back within that group. When she eventually made her move, just those skills, her ability to just take fractions and seconds on those corners, just leaving that, that effort that she makes, the bravery that she has through sections of a course. And she went clear. She took the victory. With it, she secured the World Cup overall. And what a season it has been. So you can see from Lucinda Brand, and what you sense is that recent drop-off in form, not off the podium, so 3 consecutive third places. So that winning streak ended, but you're sensing now that drop-off in form is that build-up now into the World Championships. And if that's as bad as it gets, dropping from first to third on the podium, we know that Lucinda Brand is going to come into the Worlds absolutely flying. Great ride yet again by Ceylin Alvarado. That final lap, we're seeing that real sort of final 2-lap turn and burn that she puts in her efforts. We saw that similar effort in Zonhoven as well, didn't we? And she came through to take second on the podium. And then Amandine Fouquenet, yet again, another podium for her, ahead of Celia Giry, the young French rider and French national champion, who put in her best World Cup, finishing 4th, but also taking the under-23 race. And she took that ahead of Fleur Moors and Zoe Backstead. Fleur Moors this season has been one of the riders to watch, and it's such a shame that we don't get to see a lot further down through the race as we go on. As we know, the TV directors concentrate pretty much on the front. Fleur Moore started on the 5th row, as she has done quite a lot this season, and the charge that she's making through the fields, and she came through to take her best elite World Cup finish, and with it take second on the World Cup under-23 podium in Benidorm, ahead of Zoe Backstead was third. And Zoe, as we only get to see on the podium in that World Championship under-23 rainbow jersey. And as we go towards the World Championships, and I know I bore viewers to tears and have done probably for about the last decade in terms of the under-23 championships, particularly in women's cycling, because we have it on the road as well, is that there are no under-23 races bar the European Championships where someone like Zoe would get to wear that under-23 jersey. And if you look at Benidorm, there was 30 under-23 riders out of a field of what was 65 riders. So pretty much half the field under-23s. And for me, I just feel that it devalues the work that the under-23 world champion or the under-23 European champion puts in and doesn't get to wear that jersey more than maybe once a year or on the podium. And as I've said, I've been boring the pants off everyone for a long time in saying that when we get into a race, when we're in that race situation, what's the problem with making the under-23 riders' main part of their jersey black and let them, with the rainbow bands, race in that jersey? It just gives the rider the respect for the amount of work that they put in to have that jersey. But also, as I said, particularly in women's cycling, we don't have enough under-23 races for them to race on their own. And I know they'll say, oh, well, it's confusing for the fans, but it's up to us as commentators to explain who that rider is. And it also gives another focus within the race. I'll come back to that. I'll keep campaigning. Let's lobby the UCI. We'll see. You never know. We might change it in about 20 years. You never know. But a great under-23 race, great under-23 podium as well. And it really was a great women's race. And kudos to Lucinda Brown. 2 rounds to go, already secure as the winner of this year's UCI Cyclocross World Cup. In the elite men's race, we had it kind of willy-wonky all week long in terms of would Mathieu van der Poel take to the start in Benidorm. In the end, the draw was too much, and on Saturday he decided that he was going to race. Probably much to the frustration of everybody else who thought he might not show up and they might have an opportunity. It was a great race, great start. Thibaut Del Grosso, Mathieu van der Poel coming into the finish climb on lap 1. Mathieu van der Poel came out of the corner. He looked back, and this was after Tone Arts had gone over the planks, which were in a really tricky place, got right up onto the front wheel, went over the top. Little delay, and it was only a few meters, but as we know, that's all Mathieu van der Poel needs. He glanced back, he put the hammer down, and Thibaut Del Grosso dropped off the front, looked around, and he couldn't stay with him, and that was Mathieu van der Poel. He was gone, and yet again, another absolutely flawless ride that the world champion put in. He secured his 49th career World Cup victory, and when they interview Mathieu and they talk about records, he's always saying, oh, I'm not chasing records, I'm just out here racing and I'm enjoying myself. Now, Sven Nys currently holds the World Cup record with 50 victories. So Mathieu now sits on 49 with 2 rounds to go. So he has had a 100% success record so far this season in his cyclocross starts. So potentially next weekend he could take win number 50 and win number 51. So that took him to 180 career wins. If you look at Sven Nys, 273 that I could count for Sven Nys, 2 world titles. Mathieu van der Poel now 180 individual pro wins and 7 world titles. So I know it's difficult to compare. Mathieu kind of overlapped with the back end of Sven's career, but that's an exciting one when we look at what's coming up this weekend in the final couple of rounds of this year's World Cup. Other notable mentions, Martin Gros-Lambert and Rémi Lalonde of France, they took their best ever career finishes, the 2 Frenchmen in the elite men's race. And we're starting as well, and we saw it in the women's race as well, and in the men's race, a lot more flags in that top 10. But we've also got to talk about Felipe Orts. What a move that the Spanish rider made, and the roar from the crowd in Benidorm just carried him through. And there was such a great moment where Thibaut Nace got up to him. He kind of looked back and he just tapped his thigh and was like, come on, chap, let's go. And we've seen them do this before in the European Championships, and it was a great moment. And you could see Thibaut looking back, making sure that Felipe was still with him, and he helped kind of pull him through to take that podium place. And that was such an important result, not just for Felipe, but Spanish cyclocross and the Benidorm World Cup, to have a Spanish rider finishing on the podium behind Mathieu van der Poel and Thibaut Nace. It was just the cherry on the top of the icing on the top of the cake, and it was a great finish. And I think Benidorm, it would be a great venue for the World Championship cyclocross. And there's a lot of chat when you read afterwards, is it a World Championship worthy course? What is a World Championship worthy course? You can't just have a Dendermonde, and you can't have a Namur, and you can't have those sort of venues all the time. It's great to take it somewhere else. It changes the dynamic of the race. And also when you go somewhere like Benidorm, the travel connections as well for all the fans to get there. And I think I was reading from Sven Nys, that was one thing that his concern would be, can the venue cope with a World Championship, given that the crowd would be even bigger? So lots to think about, but they're setting their stall out, they're putting their campaign, they're putting their name out there to host the World Championship cyclocross. And it's great to see not just the organisers, but the town, the city of Benidorm, getting behind their World Cup. So long may it continue. So for the final 2 rounds of the World Cup to come this weekend before we get to World Championships. I hope you're enjoying the season as much as I have. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, hit the bell, like, subscribe. I'll keep putting an episode out every week. And thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.